I gotta learn how to switch screens quicker. Hey, it's your girl, your favorite paralegal, aka Cassandra Lynn, and welcome to Legal Doc Talk 24/7. Hope you guys are having an amazing afternoon. I am busy between working and keeping you guys updated. So I don't know if you guys have heard, but there is a battle that is going on in the legal world that people just don't know about. So I was thinking of retitling this "The Pot Calling the Kettle Black" because Alex Spiro, however you want to say his name, we all know he is the attorney with Quinn Emanuel, and he is representing Jay Z in the case with Jane Doe and Tony Busby as attorney. A lot of people probably don't know that Alex Spiro is also representing New York City Mayor Eric Adams in regards to that case in New York. Now, y'all know the beef between Alex and Tony Busby, right? So the same thing that Alex is blaming Tony Busby for, he's doing in the case in New York. So, without further ado, let's hop into this because I'm just like, look at here. Everybody just getting exposed. So it reads that the feds chives defense attorney Alex Spiro for extrajudicial comments in New York City's Adams case. And they quoted, since the unsealing of the indictment in this case, defense counsel has repeatedly made false public statements about the facts and evidence in this case. Prosecutors claimed of the Quinn Emanuel, I don't know how partner. So, anywho's Quinn Emanuel. There's something fishy going on with Quinn Emanuel. But this man, as they stated, has repeatedly made false public statements about the facts in this Eric Adams case. So I do want y'all to keep in mind. So the same thing that he's calling Tony Busby out for, he's doing it in another case. I'm gonna continue this read. Federal and shout out to who am I? This is a law.com, ALM law.com. So federal prosecutors want a judge to urge New York City Mayor Eric Adams' lawyer to pipe down, claiming Alex Spiro is crossing the line in his out of court statements about the charges against his client. Since the unsealing of the indictment in this case, defense counsel has repeatedly made false public statements about the facts and evidence in this case. Reads a letter from the prosecutors referencing the Quinn Emanuel partner. So he is a partner with Quinn Emanuel. Those statements, including that the public corruption case is contrived, are in violation of local criminal rule 23.1, prosecutors allege. Under that rule, lawyers and firms are duty bound not to make public comments that have a likelihood of interfering with a fair trial. Did y'all hear that? I'm going to repeat that again. So, under the local rule, criminal rule, so the local criminal rule, because remember, this is a criminal case. Psst, psst. All right. So, in violation of the local criminal rule 23.1, prosecutors allege, under this particular rule, lawyers and firms are duty bound not to make public comments that have a likelihood of interfering with a fair trial. Prosecutors accuse Spiro of a laundry list of violations since the case went public, including comments he recently made to the New York Times after U.S. District Judge Dale Ho of the Southern District of New York declined to dismiss the bribery count against Adams. So you already know that they were pissed because they didn't get that bribery count dismissed. It took several months for the count to unwind its legal theories, questioning several of them in its ruling, and providing the point that this case was simply invented to harm Mr. Adams and not all about justice at all. He told the Times in the article published on Tuesday. I need to go find that article. Prosecutors say Spiro's extrajudicial statements, that means statements made outside of court, broadly fall into two categories. That one, the case isn't real and only cobbled together for government amusement, and that the credibility of prospective witnesses is lacking. Defense counsel knows the statements are false, prosecutors claim, because Spiro is now in possession of discovery outlining their evidence. That's why I tell you guys that discovery is very important. Let a case go through litigation, get through the discovery part, and let both sides have an opportunity to get the information and the documents and whatever witnesses they need during that time, and then they can draw their conclusions based off of the information that they receive. So he's trying to put out there that this case is pretty much frivolous, okay, that it was put out there, it was generated to make Eric Adams look bad. However, they got information that shows that this is not just a made up case. We're not going after him for nothing, and Spiro knows that because he has the discovery outlining the evidence that they have against Adams. Additionally, allegations of selective prosecution should be litigated in the court and not the press, they add. Adams, like every criminal defendant, is entitled to a zealous defense. His counsel is free to make arguments about the indictment, the evidence, or the government's witness to the court, the letter reads. Defense counsel has instead chosen to litigate the case in press statements, where he can simply pretend certain facts do not exist. Exactly what Local Rule 23.1 rightly precludes. The letter asks Ho, which is the judge, to direct defense counsel to comply with the rules. So they're saying, hey, you need to make this man abide by these rules because he's doing all this talking outside of court and making up all these lies, saying that the case was brought up against Adams because we're trying to tarnish his reputation and all this other stuff. And that's just not the case. Spiro told the New York Law Journal that he was glad the government raised the issue and repeated claims that federal prosecutors had leaked information in order to taint the mayor. They always talking about somebody leaked information. They always talk the same thing that they're doing in Diddy's case with who leaked the video of the video that we see with Cassie being dragged down the hall. Who leaked certain information? They're always hollering something has been leaked. The press conference is a choice prior administrations not only did not make they avoided to prevent potential prejudice against defendants, especially elected officials, he said. Spiro also noted that the indictment contained photos and blasted prosecutors' continued assertions that a superseding indictment may be forthcoming as creating more prejudice toward his client. What the defense has said in what the defense has said here in public pales in comparison, he added. The government used to hold itself to a higher standard. They all let us down. The mayor was indicted in September on bribery, campaign finance, and conspiracy offenses. Prosecutors alleged that Adams solicited and accepted bribes in the form of luxury perks and illegal campaign contributions in exchange for access to his influence. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges and maintained he has done nothing wrong. Adams was previously expected to appear in Manhattan federal court on Friday for a status conference, but Judge Ho granted the defense a request for an adjournment until after January 20, 2025. This defense request followed a news conference statement by President elect Donald Trump, who would be inaugurated on January 20th, and he would consider a pardon of Adams. And now it says the mayor is now due back in court on January 27th. Judge Ho ruled. And the trial has been scheduled for April. This is very interesting. Now I'm going to go to a letter. I need to see how I can get the full letter. I know you guys probably cannot see this, so I am going to read it to you. So this is a letter from the government, the prosecutors, and they submitted it to Judge Ho, and it reads, and it's only the first page. And I read the article, so you guys have an indication as to what's actually going on. But here is what the government submitted to the court about Alex Spiro. It says, since the unsealing of the indictment in this case, defense counsel has repeatedly made false public statements about the facts and evidence in this case that violates the local criminal rule 23.1. The government alerted defense counsel to such violations in late September of 2024, and on November 4th, 2024, the court cautioned that this case is to be tried in the courtroom and not the press. So that is what the court told Spiro. Nonetheless, defense counsel has continued to violate the rule, including as recently as December 17th, 2024. Accordingly, the government respectfully submits this letter to request the court direct counsel for the parties to comply with the rule. So I'm going to provide you guys with what the local criminal rule 23.1a provides. It states, it is the duty of the lawyer or the law firm not to release or authorize the release of non-public information or opinion that a reasonable person would expect to be disseminated by means of public communication in connection with pending or imminent criminal litigation with which they are associated, if there is a substantial likelihood that the dissemination will interfere with a fair trial or otherwise prejudice the due administration of justice. It goes on to say that Local Criminal Rule 23.1d goes to identify various categories of public statements that presumptively interfere with a fair trial or otherwise prejudice the due administration of justice. For example, the rule provides in relevant part that statements of opinion as to the accused's guilt or innocence or as to the merits of the case or the evidence in the case are among those that presumptively involve a substantial likelihood that their public dissemination will interfere with a fair trial or otherwise prejudice the due administration of justice. So just by Spiro going out talking to these, news people saying that all the information, or not all the information, but this case that was brought against Adams is false. Everybody's lying, knowing darn well you have the evidence right there that connects him to the bribery and the fraud and whatever else he's been charged with. Because you're trying to get the public to pretty much turn, because you're telling you're telling us that he didn't do anything of that nature, and that by y'all making up this stuff and putting it on him, that brings his character, and y'all trying to discredit him and all this other stuff. That's what he's trying to do. So the prosecution is wanting the court again to tell this man, you need to follow local rules, the local criminal rules. In this case, everything has to stay within the court. You should not be making any extra comments outside of court. The public does not need to know this. Every jurisdiction run everything. So everybody probably like, well, what about Diddy? What about Diddy? That has just like it's taken off. Like I don't even know at this point. I mean, at the end of the day, it is going to be hard because every defendant is entitled to a fair trial, and it does make hard when you bring the public into it, especially in criminal proceedings, because this is a criminal case. So just like Diddy is a criminal case, but you do have to follow the local criminal rules. Where did I leave off at? And it says statements about the credibility of prospective witnesses also presumptively interfere with a fair trial. The potential prejudice is evaluated at the time a statement is made, so it is no defense that an attorney's statement in violation of the rule did not actually uh, prejudice the eventual jury. And then they cited United States versus Coulter. But that's only page one. So I don't have all the pages, so I can't read the whole thing. So all in all, I brought this to everybody's attention. I'm not going to say too much because I just want to like leave it at that. So this could actually marinate. Uh Isn't that what lawyers usually do when speaking to the press? Not that I'm against this because Adam needs to go. No, no. Okay, so you have to think about the type of case that this is. This is a federal case. So you cannot make what they call them extrajudicial statements outside of the court. Like really, in Diddy's case, it's not even supposed to be happening. The way that it went down, it's not. We know way too much information. Way too much information. Now his civil cases, those are a little bit different, but we're talking about the local criminal rules for the criminal side of things in New York. It's a little bit different. So just like in Diddy's case and in Eric Adams' case, no media can be in there. You can't, record. You can't, I don't know if you could bring, if you do bring your cell phones in there, you have to probably power them off. But have y'all ever seen a news reporter inside a federal courtroom for Adams or uh Diddy? You haven't, because it's not allowed. That's why we always get the still images of, the drawings from uh the whoever is the little artist there, because they can't have that in there. They can't tape, they can't record, they can't do anything. Or we catch them, on the outside like they did with Eric Adams. I think, I don't know, is he locked up? I don't even know if he's locked up. I haven't even really paid attention to his case. I know who he is, but I haven't paid attention. But no, you can't speak to the press. Now, you have to understand what he is saying. It's about the statements that he's making. He's saying that Eric Adams didn't do it. He is saying that the government has filed a case on him to make him look bad. The statements that he just made, those are incorrect because, as the prosecution stated, he already has the evidence. He already has the evidence that ties the bribery and whatever else he was charged with. It ties him to Eric. So yeah. Yes. So it's a difference between federal and state. In federal court, you cannot have any recordings. You can't go in there. Nobody is allowed other than the attorney, the prosecution, family, if they're on the list, the bailiff, the clerk, all that. So no media is allowed. Why you think like when they do the Diddy stuff, they have their cameras set up outside and they're waiting for somebody to come out and kind of give them an update. Now you could give them an update, but the update has to be facts, like, okay, this is what the judge ruled on, or this is what the prosecution said, or this is what the defense counsel said. But you can't go out there and be like, yeah, he's innocent because they didn't, trying to bring him down, blase blase blase. You can't do that. You can't do that. So yeah, I just want to bring that to you guys' attention. So it's like the same thing that Alex is doing to Busby. The prosecution in Eric Adams' case is saying that Alex ain't even following the rules. So I just want y'all to kind of let that marinate. Let that marinate. The pot calling the kettle black. Like, all right, so if the prosecution start filing motions for sanctions, because this is the second time. This is the second time. Well, not the second time they're calling them out, but the court has already told Alex, you need to stop what you're doing and keep your statements within the court. Don't go out here making all of these false statements or statements that are false, knowing that you have evidence discovery that shows your client is possibly guilty. I'm just saying. Y'all tell me about this in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until then, you all be blessed. And if there's another update, I'll be back. But other than other than that, I'm out. Bye, y'all.